Now see here, propagation of electromagnetic waves. See here, in communication system, there are the certain parts, important parts, like radio waves are used for that. And if you are using radio wave, an antenna at the transmitter station is required to radiate electromagnetic waves. And these electromagnetic waves travel through the space, or travel through the different media, and goes from one end to another end. So see here, what are the ways to transmit these electromagnetic waves? And when these electromagnetic wave travels through the medium, there is a loss of strength. So what are the factors which are affecting this its loss? And how can we transmit these electromagnetic wave from one place to another place? So there are the different methods of propagation. First one is, that is here, ground wave propagation. So see here, in ground wave propagation, we use actually the antenna. Here the vertical towers are used, which radiates electromagnetic waves of the high frequencies. And suppose if you have got here the vertical tower over here, and it radiates the electromagnetic waves. These electromagnetic waves travel through the along the ground. This is just a glide over the ground. As they glide over the ground, they induces current through which they are traveling, and because of that there is a loss of strength. So signal cannot go for the large distances, because there is a loss of strength also here. So this type of the ground wave propagation cannot be used for very high frequencies, because higher the frequency, higher is the loss of strength of the signal. And also, to radiate the electromagnetic wave of the high frequencies, wavelength should be, the height of the antenna, the size of antenna here, that should be at least lambda by 4. So if you want to radiate electromagnetic wave of high frequencies, the size of the antenna should be at least lambda by 4 here. So whatever the wavelength you are transmitting, its 1/4 length is required, that is the size of the antenna. But this ground wave propagation is not suitable for the high frequencies. It can be only used maximum up to this 1500 kilohertz. So maximum frequency which can be transmitted by this mode is up to here the 1500 kilohertz we can write, not more than this. If the higher the frequency, there is more attenuation takes place. Now see here sky waves propagation. So see here in the sky waves propagation, actually here we take the help of the ionosphere, and this is used for the long distance telecommunication. So for the long distances, if you want to transmit electromagnetic waves, these waves are reflected by the ionosphere. But see here, atmosphere has got the height, and if you see the lower side of the atmosphere, the ionization is less, because the sun's energy are not reaching, ultraviolet rays are not reaching to this surface. So the ionosphere layer is not very thick, and also at the very high height, you will see there is a atmospheric density is very less. Because of that, ionization is taking place, but its density is not very high. So approximately in the middle height, there is ionosphere range, and that ionosphere helps in reflecting the electromagnetic waves. So the wavelength or the frequency range from 3 megahertz to around 30 megahertz to 40 megahertz, these frequency can be reflected by ionosphere. So with the help of the transmitter, these frequencies are transmitted to the atmosphere and then reflected by the ionosphere and reaching to the another side of the earth here, because this is the curvature of the earth you can receive here. So this communication can be used for the long distance communication. But if the frequencies are more than 30 to 40 megahertz, this method you cannot use. And if the frequency is more than this, then these frequencies penetrates the atmosphere and they go up beyond the atmosphere. So they are not reflected by the ionosphere actually here. So the certain frequency, you can say the map to the maximum frequency up to which can be reflected by the ionosphere is known as critical frequency. So these waves which are penetrating to the atmosphere, going to the satellite and reflected by the satellite, and that mode of communication is known as space wave communication. That now we will be doing in the next part. Now see here space wave propagation. We have seen here the sky wave propagation, and that can transmit the signals up to 40 megahertz, which are reflected by ionosphere. If the frequency is more than 40 megahertz, these are not reflected by ionosphere. These type of the electromagnetic waves are transmitted with the help of the space waves. But see here, these waves travel in a straight line between the transmitting antenna and receiving antenna. So, this type of communication is also known as line of sight communication. Line of sight communication. So, that we write LOS. For this line of sight communication here, suppose if you have taken this is earth curvature and here there is an antenna of height h, that is a transmitting antenna. So, see here there is a formula for that. An antenna of height h can send the signal up to the distance, that is d is equal to under root of 2rh. This is the distance covered by antenna of height h, where r is the radius of earth, that is equal to 6400 kilometer. If there is a transmitter of height h, it can send the signals up to the distance of this, that is here dt is equal to under root of 2rht. If there is a receiving antenna, it can send the signals up to this, that is dr is equal to under root of 2rhr. So, the maximum distance between these two receiving and transmitting antenna, that is here we can write in this case d is equal to, that we can write here dm is equal to under root of 2rht plus under root of 2rhr. So, this is the maximum distance between these two antenna here. So, now the question based on this you can get, this is a line of communication which is very important. So, in the line of communication or this line of sight communication, we use only for the frequencies which are heavy or which are having the higher frequencies more than 40 megahertz, and this is also can be used for the transmission of the TV signals.